Get the sound right.
Okay.
Hello everyone, welcome to Chaucer's. My name is Michael, I'm the events coordinator on behalf of Kinsey and Gretchen, our two co-workers, and our owner Mari Curley. Thank you for coming. We're pleased to have Teri Harmon, direct from the San Ynez Valley, and her publisher from Polyverse Publications, Luis Forrest Torres.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yep.
So welcome both of you. Thanks for coming. I'm going to have you introduce Teri, but I had a couple questions for you regarding if you could tell us a little bit about Polyverse Publications and what it is.
Yeah, sure. So Polyverse Publications it's in its first year. We really just broke off from a career in business books primarily. And so I wanted to expand genres and get out there a little bit more. And so we did that, and we were lucky enough to meet Teri Harmon here as one of our first clients.
How did you meet Teri then?
So Teri actually grew up in San Ynez, which is where I went to high school, and I grew up in Solvang, which is right nearby.
All right.
Yeah, so we met through our families.
And maybe you could talk a little bit about her book, and then you can go ahead and introduce and go right into the talk.
Yeah, sure.
All
So Teri, your book's The Sacrificial Deal. It's a mystery, and it's a little bit of a thriller, and has some action and whatnot. So my first question to you is really more, what inspired you to write this book, the first book?
Well, I happened to be in a movie theater in Buellton and walked in and noticed that every single sign up on the door was a sequel. So all the movies were sequels. And I'm thinking, okay, where's the creativity? Are we going to see Spider-Man 12 soon? Rocky 59? You know, I mean, it's
Fast
just
and
like
the Furious, number 12.
all these things. I'm like, we need something different. And so I thought, okay, maybe that's a bucket list thing I need to do. I wanted to create something that I would love to see on the screen. That was basically it.
Okay. And specifically for the Sacrificial Deal, how did you come up with the idea behind it?
All right, so this is kind of funny. This actually happened. I happened to, after I came up with the idea that I'm going to write something creative and put it on the screen, happened to talk to a friend of mine who was an executive at a movie studio, and said, hey, where's all the creativity? How come we're not seeing anything, different up there? And he said, well, it's pretty much has to do with the formula and all this stuff, and people know Spider-Man, they know Rocky, or all these things.
Yeah.
So he was trying to tell me all this stuff. So 2 weeks later, I happened to be at a runaway place I like to go to called Rancho La Puerta, and his wife that I was talking to came with, and it happened to be Writers Week. I thought, wow, that's certainly a sign. And she had talked about writing a book. I wanted to write this idea, and I happened to be in the middle of a massage. This is true. I'm in the middle of a massage. My face is in the cradle, and my mind is blank for about 2 seconds, and the idea hits. And all of a sudden, my mind is racing with all these different characters and what it would be about. And it made me sad. It really made me sad to think about what I would put this character through. And it upset me. And so I started kind of tearing up and crying a little bit. So when the massage therapist turned me over and I go, and she's like, did I hurt you? I'm like, no. I'm just thinking of something really, really sad. Went to my room, got a book, and the book poured out of me. It just poured. I mean, over the course of 3 weeks, the week that I happened to be at this retreat, plus the 2 weeks after, it just came out. I could not stop it.
Yeah, that's
How it
amazing.
came out.
When you mentioned to me that you wrote it in 3 weeks, that's huge for a writer. So most writers are struggling with getting a book finished or even a page a day. Do you have any input into? Besides the fact that you were getting a massage and it hit you, what was your process?
Well, since I wasn't a writer quite yet, I didn't have a process. So I had this book where the book kind of came out of, and I started thinking, okay, I got to put it on a piece of paper. I gotta put the characters down. I've
No,
gotta
you just can't get it.
do some sort of a chart with them because I had thrown so many
Yes.
different variables in the story. I wanted to make sure that when all the balls came down, they were where they needed to be.
Thank you for calling.
I think months after I did the first draft, I woke up at midnight going, I forgot something. And so, made sure I wrote notes and stuff. And so it was trial by error for me. I didn't know how it was supposed to be done.
Yeah.
So it just did it. And then I went on the computer, started putting it together. And then after a while, I just put it on a shelf. It was so overwhelming to think about these characters 24/7. What they were going through or what they were supposed to be doing or where they should be or how to thread them through the story, how to make it interesting. It was so much. I said, okay, just put this on the shelf for the time being. COVID hit.
Yeah.
Off the
Yeah.
shelf it came. And I said, that's it, I'm finishing it. So it was all pretty quick, but then I had to wait.
This was pre-COVID.
It was pre-COVID. And then when COVID hit, I said, all right, now I'm going to finish this thing. Because I didn't have a lot of time. I'm a career person and have all these other things that I do. But to have COVID hit and to have that extra time, I filled it up with the book and finished it.
Yeah, that's cool. I've heard a few stories of different writers working on a project, in the
Yeah.
downtime of COVID. So
Yeah, we don't have much excuses, do we?
no excuses there.
To not finish.
For those of you who've read the book, there's a lot of scenes there. For those of you who haven't, there's a lot of really cool, unique scenes. Do you have any you wanted to expand upon or anything that you were?
Oh, without giving it away. I think for anybody that happens to be watching, if you're from the Santa Barbara County area or Santa Barbara in general, you'll notice it all takes place in Santa Barbara. And so I sneak in some places. It's also a period piece. It doesn't happen recently. It happens in the late 80s, early 90s, in that time period. So there's a thing about the hospital. There's a building there to which is connected. Tahigas Beach is connected to it. The airport is connected. So there's certain things that happen here locally, and then it takes off into different areas after that.
Yeah.
So, and then I threaded in a few secret things for certain friends and people to pick up on, which was a lot of fun. Just secretly writing stuff and going, ooh, I know this person will get this. I know this person will not get this. Fun things like that. And it'll be fun for people to really go, okay.
Was she talking about
she?
me
Right.
in the book?
Yeah, I've already had a few of those phone calls. They're fun.
That's awesome. And that answers my question too, because as a world traveler with your work in Africa and other places, and your work with Stomp Out Hunger, I was going to ask why Santa Barbara, but it's near and dear to your heart.
And why not?
And why not? Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I just wanted to see if anybody had any questions before Teri does a reading. Yeah, go ahead.
So one of my relatives is an editor, so most books are edited. If you went through the editing process, what was that like?
Like being in second grade, seeing somebody with a big red marker going over everything. That was important for me to have it edited. I actually had a couple versions of it, and Lewis actually did the last edit of it. So I really wanted to make sure that things kind of got dialed in. But I thought that was an important part of the process because the way I was writing, it was like how I would speak, and
Yeah.
I was just like, but
Did you find it helpful?
very helpful, very helpful, and you learn a lot.
Yeah.
When you're new, you learn a lot. Number 2 book, might be a little different, different style.
Yeah, this is the first in the witness protection series. So there is a planned
And it's going to be made into a
second
movie.
book. Yes, yes, movies 1, 2, yes, exactly.
Right, yeah. So anybody watching, if you're a producer and you need a good creative idea, okay, give me a call. Call Lewis.
I just have to ask, are any of these characters patterned after your own life?
No, the characters are not patterned after my life, and I make actually a big point on page 1. It says here, I cannot confirm whether this story is true or not, so don't ask me.
Okay, fair, that's fair.
Darn, that was my
It's
question.
all fiction. Fiction.
How did your family handle your obsession?
That's a good question. So the kids are grown and pretty much gone. So maybe the question is, how did my husband handle
Well, that's
it?
what I would have said, but.
Yeah. It was a hobby. For me, it was a hobby, and just, everybody's cool with it. I did it mostly after hours, when work was
He's
done.
always so supportive.
And so he might be watching TV and I would be, on the computer.
Yeah, we had somebody who said the same thing. He said, "Thank you so much to my wife for leaving me alone,
Yeah.
letting me write."
Yeah, I think there's a couple times that he walked in, I'm like, not now. Because you get on a tangent, or you get into a rhythm with something, or an idea that you don't want to have it escape. So he was pretty good about that. Thanks, John, wherever you are.
I remember when we were on some trips, you were so faithful at night to go back to your room and journal what we had seen and experienced that day. Do you feel like journaling has helped you evolve as a fiction writer?
That's if the question is, for anybody listening, does journaling help anybody develop writing skills? I think it does. My first journal was done in 1977 on a big trip that I took, and I actually have only read that journal one other time since then, and I was amazed at reading it, how bad the grammar was, and how much I needed to improve on that, but I captured a lot of great ideas on that. I think journaling is a good thing for anybody that wants to capture special moments in time and to not forget them. And maybe to pass them on to your children or your family down the road.
Yeah.
So I feel like weather is important for writers, and I'm wondering what kind of temperature and weather was going on through the Sacrificial Deal.
Santa Barbara.
So sunny.
Sunny and good dispositions until.
Oh, yeah.
So Teri, you mentioned that while you were creating this in your head and getting ready to write it down, there were moments where you were very tearful and upset because the story takes on, something very difficult, actually. How were you able to create such a sacrifice of that character in the story and not, well, I guess you were feeling some pain as you were putting that out there, but it's pretty intense, and that's what makes it so exciting. So how did you tap into all of that?
I don't know. I think, when you're a parent, and you have kids, you learn how to deal with life a little differently. Your priorities are different. And the main character, which is a Dr. Sarah, who's a pediatrician in Santa Barbara, had 3 kids, early on in her career. And the story is about her having to make the sacrificial deal and what that entailed. And for me, I look at that and I go, holy crap, excuse me.
Sorry, huh?
I would not ever want to be in that woman's shoes, ever. And yet, I put her through it all. And I put her through a lot more than that when you read it. There's all kinds of stuff I put her through. And, at the very end, it's, without giving it away, you can see how she came out of it. Without giving it away.
Yeah. What would you do in witness protection?
Yeah.
Is the question. So.
Or in the blink of an eye, you have this idyllic life that you think is perfect, and all of a sudden it is taken away. Everything. Just imagine that for a second. Everything you love, everything that's you, everything that's a part of your life is gone. How would you handle that?
Yeah.
Let's hope none of us ever have to do that. But if you think about it, it should bring a tear to your eye. Just at the very thought,
Yeah.
I think.
Well, you mentioned sequels, so she didn't die.
Well, I can't tell you what happens.
Yeah, we can't,
Okay.
we can't reveal that.
No.
But the sequel wouldn't be about her.
Ah.
It could be about a different story of somebody within that had to be put into the witness protection and what those circumstances were, which would be different than what we have in the book.
Well, Terry, we had a little bit selected to read. Did you want to go ahead and
Yes.
read some of that for us?
Yep, let's do
All
that.
right. Me, I'll step out of the way here.
I need to put glasses on for this to work. All right, so I am going to start, in case anybody needs to know, on page 71. And I picked this because I thought it was a great passage to kind of give you a taste of what's in this book. So remember, the main character is Dr. Sarah. She is in witness protection right now. She's talking to her attorney, and here's how it goes. Her attorney's name is Anthony, by the way. Anthony began his assessment. If your testimony stands and the Kozlov brothers are sent to prison, it's likely they will still attempt to get to you as long as Oleg, I'm sorry, I gotta redo this. I'm on the wrong page here. All right, so the attorney Anthony is walking into the room and he's meeting for the full time his client. Anthony walked into a secluded room full of listening devices and cameras, introduced himself to all around the table, and saw Sarah for the first time standing to introduce herself. After 35 years of practicing law, the experienced attorney was nearing retirement due to health problems that had left him bald, wearing thick glasses, and experiencing sporadic back pain. Despite all that, he was drawn to the case, although he found his stature somewhat dwarfed by Director Vargas's authoritative demeanor and size. Anthony had worked hard to achieve his partner status at the firm that now included his name and its moniker, but nothing had prepared him for what he would be dealing with in Sarah's case. Director Vargas led the discussion and briefed Anthony on the details and complexities involved. Anthony had heard about the Kozlovs, but had never worked on any cases that involved them, nor met them. Sarah listened intently and tried hard to understand what the desired game plan was as it formed during the briefing. After hours of long and emotional discussions, Sarah asked and then demanded the impossible, and after much argument, got it. A one-on-one conversation with her attorney alone, away from the compound, in an isolated area that didn't have any listening devices or cameras. The blackout van delivered the two of them to a large public park where they sat down on a swing set for fear that the recommended park table might be bugged or too close to the van. Sarah knew the FBI would keep close tabs on her and would not want one of their most valuable assets to disappear or get hurt. After observing his client for signs of stress, Anthony cautiously asked, "How are you feeling, Dr. Stevens? I can only imagine what you're going through with the pressure of your family's lives hanging in the balance." You were pretty quiet during most of the discussion with Director Vargas. Sarah sucked back her emotions and swallowed hard for fear of letting the dam break. She looked at Anthony squarely in the eye and asked, "I need you to be honest. Am I screwed? Is there any way out of this that doesn't include me or my family getting killed? I thought a lot about this, and I can't seem to find a safe way out, given the third guy is still on the loose, and the type of violence these people are involved with." She kept her gaze unwaveringly on her lawyer. Would there be any sign of hope, or would he hesitate while trying to figure out how to deliver the bad news? Sarah was extremely good at reading people. It was part of her job to get information from her young patients and their parents to recommend the best course of medical treatment. She was superb at negotiating, and her people reading skills came in handy whenever she played a friendly game of poker with her extended family during the holidays. Anthony squirmed a bit and hesitated. Sarah's heart skipped a beat. She already knew about her limited options, options that were inadequate because over the long run, they couldn't ensure the survival of her family. Her floodgate wanted to break, releasing the stress and emotions. She needed to focus. Anthony began his assessment. If your testimony stands and the Kozlov brothers are sent to prison, it's likely they will still attempt to get at you as long as Oleg Sokotov is at large. And even if they catch all three, the attorney grimly continued, the Kozlovs have other associates who can execute a contract on your life. And if this court case fails and the Kozlovs are released on some technicality, things won't look good for you. To be completely frank, I'm worried you are doomed either way. No matter how Sarah thought about her options, the outcomes were all bad. All she could think about was her family being hurt by these monsters. She put her head into her hands and started to sob. And then it hit her. She looked up as if startled. It was a crazy idea that popped into her head, but for now, it was her only safe way out. She asked Anthony for a notepad and a pen, which he quickly retrieved from his briefcase. Sarah carefully explained her idea as if arguing with herself as she filled in the blanks of her idea. Anthony and Sarah sat together for 3 hours, making a list of what was needed to be said or done while hammering out as many details as possible. They went back and forth, asking questions, asking each other's questions about possibilities and circumstances. Anthony wrote as fast as he could to capture the details and essence of her brilliant idea. It was obviously apparent that she would eventually need his help and support in communicating the details of this new plan to the FBI. What are these? Asked Anthony, pointing to some of the items being developed on her plan. Sarah explained some items further, then followed up to confirm with Anthony, do you think this is a hard yes or no? Anthony was impressed at the coolness with which she handled the questions and planning. She had concocted what seemed to be a way out while under enormous pressure. And if everyone played their part correctly, it could work. They had a good rough draft and would need to meet again to work out the finer points. Until then, they agreed neither one of them would talk about it with anyone else. The setting sun reminded Sarah of the need to go home and see her family. Sarah knew the trial was being expedited, which meant her plan would need to be agreed upon and then implemented soon. Sarah knew she needed to fill in more blanks and may have missed a few important points, but she had something more than she did before. She had hope.
Very nice.
Can't wait to read more.
All right.
I like hope.
Well, thank you, Teri. It's awesome of you to come down this evening.
Great to be here.
And yeah, if anyone didn't already get a copy, I think most of you did, but they're at the counter.